Dooba-dooba-doo. Scooby-Doo. Well, here we are, folks. We're going to get into the show here in a little bit as I get ready for the volumes of awesome that we have in store for you today, which is a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff. We'll see if we can get to it all or what happens. But let's get everybody ready. Is everybody settled in? Because we're about ready to kick off the show right now.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is foreign. The minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific news, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your powerful range of view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions or believe this and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
Well, yeah, that's the idea there, folks. And I come to you from Freeqo.com, again, where I am not freaking out for you, the people. For you, the people. That's right. I do this all for you, the people, of course. And I also do it for my own therapy and as a way to document our time here in Coronaville. And with that, I'm about ready to kick this puppy up a notch. And let's go ahead. And we're going to get to our first story of the day, which is our first headline of the day in our features called Headlines. Alrighty then. Talk headlines. The UN invites the dragon into its digital sanctum. And this is from Quartz. UN partners with China's Tencent surveillance software. That's a great. Awesome fun. You know why that is? That's because China owns ports in half the African countries. That alone gives it a lot of votes in the UN now. I mean, that's just one reason, but just saying. And that's a fact. Now, never mind. The U.S. does too. Russia does. And a lot of folks own ports in other countries. It's weird. It's weird when nation states in general allow foreign powers the ability to own strategically significant portions of their way of life. It's just weird. Within the nation state game, it's pretty much suicidal. It's weird. Yet that's what the US is doing. China doesn't do this. China doesn't let you come in and mess with their stuff like we do this to other folks too. We do to to other nations what China's attempting to do to us. But we also let a whole bunch of different nations do it to us as well. We are like, we live in a reality in which if you go on Twitter and you say that China is the one that, is, whatever, behind, I'm not even going to say the conspiracy. I'm not going to repeat the conspiracies, the governments of this or that. YouTube has made it very clear, you don't dare speak out against other nation states. You don't accuse nation states of doing that. Now, if other nation states want to accuse other nation states of doing that, Twitter will ban American citizens from saying China did it, while they will allow China and all of its subsidiaries, including MSNBC and CNN, which is a subsidiary of the CCP. The DNC CCP is basically what it is. And by the way, there's tons and tons of progressives who are starting to catch on to that whole. I mean, it's becoming more and more apparent what's going on, and it's even alienating progressives. Progressives are like, oh, okay, now we're figuring out the DNC is not us. That's what people are figuring out. The DNC is this whole other entity. It says Democratic National Committee. That's just it doesn't really matter. It means whatever the DNC is a placeholder. It's a clearinghouse where all of these different entities can exchange their value with one another, in essence. And what's being exchanged here is essentially American interest, American power, American sovereignty to the highest foreign bidder. Now, don't get me wrong. The RNC probably has its own similar networks and whatnots. It just so happens that on the main, the powers that have traditionally been in the DNC, that even now even more than ever, a fundamental part of their existing capital and their projected capital includes a healthy, strong China economy with 1.3 billion consumers. That's their market. That's what they're serving. That's what all of these entities have decided to serve. And it's all about that. It's not an ideology. It's nothing. It's just, and ironically enough, it's pure capitalism, I guess you could say. The DNC are the actual, real capitalists. Like in all of the cliched evil movie kind of sense of the term. That's what the DNC has become. But it's the DNC CCP. So, believe you me, if Hillary Clinton was the president, this would be like, this is great. This is the great way to bring China into the fold and spread democracy and blah, blah, blah. It would be all that stuff they always say. It would be like that. So let's read the actual excerpt. The United Nations announced earlier this week that it's partnering with Chinese tech giant Tencent to facilitate an international campaign to mark the body's 75th anniversary. But news of the partnership has raised questions about the security of Chinese tech, you think? Especially given Tencent's role as a comprehensive surveillance tool for the Chinese state. Really, the problem is that the United Nations shouldn't exist anyway. It's just, ultimately what the United Nations becomes is a geopolitical, diplomatic battlefield. That's it. And then it's just a matter of which nation states can manipulate other nation states. Basically, play along or die kind of, You prefer not to do the play along or die. You prefer to put it in terms in which it's just like, no, it's just about trade. But ultimately, we will shove a missile up your proverbial if you otherwise, Gaddafi. We came, we saw, he died. That's a beautiful moment in American history. Just class all the way. That's us, class. Class in a palm. We're like, the Ciceros of our time. Probably don't even know who his Cicero is. I bet you Hillary doesn't even remember who his Cicero is anymore. Well, wasn't he that guy that led a rebellion? That'll be his. There's something called the Catalan conspiracy. She'll remember it as he led a rebellion. He was Well, he was the consul for that year. He was what you call a new man. He didn't come from royal family, or so to speak, or the aristocrats, the blue bloods of Rome's time. And there was, I'm probably going on way too long about this, but I mean, the nuts and bolts is it that he made a decision to kill Catiline, to have Catiline executed. It was unprecedented at the time, and on the main, most people supported him, but his political enemies would later use it against him. And at one point, he would be on Julius Caesar's prescription list, and one of the justifications was the whole Catiline thing, which he felt like he was securing the Republic, and he probably was. That's the thing, he probably was. And Hillary didn't like that part, because he helped the Republic hold on for another few years. Anyway, life on Earth could show the way life on Mars might be found. Newly discovered single-celled creatures living deep beneath the seafloor have given researchers clues about how they might find life on Mars. These bacteria were discovered living in tiny cracks inside volcanic rocks after researchers persisted over a decade of trial and error to find a new way to examine the rocks. Researchers estimate that the rock cracks are home to a community of bacteria as dense as that of the human gut. What? What does that mean? I don't get it. About 10 billion bacterial cells per cubic centimeter. Okay, so basically like the same, like the human gut is filled with bacteria. Okay, I get it. Okay, I'm a little slow, but I got to the party. I'm there. All right, everybody, I'm finally here. Oh, great. You know, the countdown already happened. Happy New Year. It's like that. So anyway, so they say a bunch of numbers, but in contrast, the average density of bacteria living in mud sediment on the seafloor is estimated to be 100 cells per cubic centimeter. I am now almost over expecting that I can find life on Mars. If not, it must be that life relies on some other process that Mars does not have, like plate tectonics, said Associate Professor Yohei Suzuki from the University of Tokyo, referring to the movement of land masses around Earth most notable for causing earthquakes. Suzuki is first author of the research paper announcing the discovery, published in Communications Biology. So there, life on Earth could show the way. So that's so cool. So the rock cracks. So this basically shows a template that may help them find life on Mars. So in other ways, they won't be blindly stabbing in the dark. They'll be blindly stabbing into the dusk. And that's a huge shift. That's wonderful. That'd be really awesome if they found life on Mars. That'd be so cool. And then you find out that life on Mars originated from one of our rovers. That'd be great. That'd be one of them. But you don't find out about it until like 50 years later. So for the first 50 years, it's a total paradigm shift. And then you have the deniers. Of course, you're going to have the deniers. And that's going to be like the deniers are going to be the fringe. And for the most part, they are fringe because they're not going to actually have the proof. Nobody will have the proof. Like the science behind it will seem legit until they do. Oh, never mind. That'd be funny. That'd be awesome. Yeah, humanity totally LARPing itself. That's beautiful. Coronaville won't stop Russia's big war parade, from Defense Blog. Russia continues to prepare for large-scale military parade despite ongoing pandemic. Here's an excerpt. Russia continues preparations for the upcoming larger-scale military parade that will take place on Moscow's Red Square on 9 May 2020 to commemorate the 75th anniversary of World War II victory, the nation's most important holiday. Dude, when your most important holiday, I mean, yeah, there's something to be said about that. Like, that's something Americans don't understand. And then, we don't understand the military parades as much, certainly not in our time. We look at them. When Trump was thinking about doing a military parade, it was like, are you freaking nuts? And the reason isn't that we're better than Russia and that they're more militant than us. It's that Russia has an existential experience with mass death. I mean, even what we're dealing with Coronaville, this is difficult. But I mean, it's like all of us are suddenly in a shooting war. Every single one of us are now experiencing to some measure what it's like to be in a shooting war. I say some measure, only in terms of statistical probability of death. But and then there are some shooting wars where no, you're facing way worse odds than what we're facing. But I'm talking about on the main in today's reality. You know, certainly what American soldiers are mostly dealing with. You know what? It's probably a terrible comparison. Just forget it. But we're experiencing some degree of experience of real existential threat at a level that is much more heightened than would ever be in our normal lives. So, you know, normal healthy lives. So I understand why it is that they find such a reason to make sure that they show their military love and you know, continue because they're surrounded by people that want to kill them. I mean, most of us are. The United States is very gifted. You know, we're very lucky, and you know, the Mexican government doesn't really have any realistic capacity to try to kill Americans, nor does the Canadian government, and we don't have any really benefit that we can see to killing them, but that's a geographical circumstance more than anything else, and Russia doesn't live in that world, and most nation states don't live in that world. We're in a very unique, peaceful circumstance, very unique, peaceful circumstance. So I understand why Russians have military parades, and I understand why we don't. I don't want a military parade, don't get me wrong, but if I was in their circumstance, I very well might appreciate them a lot more, because in their world, their military really is like essential to their living. If they want to live the way they want to live collectively, you know, I know they have their own. It is a coercive notion of they. I understand that, but in that, you know, I guess I would rather have micro theys more than one macro they. Okay, so they're a micro they, but they're a coercive, you know, much more coercive system even than America's is on the main. I mean, there are some areas in life actually it's more free in Russia than it is in America, but that's true even in China. There's areas in life that are more free there than there are over here, but on the main, in the fundamental, I get to make the choices that matter most kind of ways. You're far more free still to do that. Well, you were until just now, but yeah, I'll just say in general, you're far more free to do that in America than you are in Russia. So there's a lot more coercive governance modeling in Russia than there is in America. So on the main, I don't favor that part. They don't necessarily need that, but I even understand to some degree why they have that when they have such real existential threatings. So anyway, they are willing to go ahead with this even in the face of death. And you know, I might talk about this later. I'll pause this for now. I'm sure I'll get to this eventually, but I'm just put a pin in it for now, and that is this idea of coerced strategy. And human beings, if you let them choose, you know, let them choose. And then let them deal with the consequences too. So human beings that choose to quarantine, to stand down, whatever, you know, when they get sick, they get taken care of. Human beings that say, you know, I'm willing to risk it. I think you should let them. And then amongst the folks that maybe agree to risk it, maybe they have their own way that they can take care of one another when they get sick. Because I don't think that you should expect, if you're willing to risk it, that you're also then willing to be a burden on a system that's relying on people not risking it. So that's all you have to do. You don't need to force people into these circumstances. Let people risk it. Now, how you figure out who risk and who not, that's another matter. I don't know. That's another, yeah. So this is to put a pin in that. I'm still germinating that thought because there's a lot of complex moving parts there. All right. Well, with that note, tell you what we're going to do. See what we're going to do here is, we're going to transition on over here, and we're going to get ready for our next segment, and we're going to move into our talk feature. And our talk feature here is quite an interesting story. I think that you're going to enjoy it very much. So let's head on over. Let's get to our talk feature for the day. There we go. Our talk feature. We have the physicality of genetic expression and what that means for society. So first of all, let's dispense with the definition of gene expression, because you and I are going to need to know what that means. The appearance in a phenotype of a characteristic or effect attributed to a particular gene. The process by which possession of a gene leads to the appearance in the phenotype of the corresponding character. Now that's from the dictionary out of my head, so you know it means what it says it means. Gene expression, it seems, is more affected by physical force than anything. Now before I go on, why don't we just get to the news excerpt? I think we're going to need to do that before I can do my part, because there's like science people that know stuff, and they explain it real good. So this is from Eureka Alert. Physical force alone spurs gene expression, study reveals. Excerpt. Cells will ramp up gene expression in response to physical force alone, a new study finds. Gene activation, the first step of protein production, starts less than 1 millisecond after a cell is stretched, hundreds of times faster than chemical signals can travel, the researchers report. The scientists tested forces that are biologically relevant, equivalent to those exerted on human cells by breathing, exercising, or vocalizing. They report their findings in the journal Science Advances. We found that force can activate genes without intermediates, without enzymes or signaling molecules in the cytoplasm, said University of Illinois Mechanical Sciences and Engineering professor Ning Wang, who led the research. We also discovered why some genes can be activated by force and some cannot. So the force is in you, or outside of you and then in you, or something, the ripplings. So I won't pretend to understand fully the ramifications of the discovery, but it seems to me that the effects of our physicality contribute far more to the particular variations in gene expression we might appear throughout the course of our lives. Here's a little more clarification from the article. Living cells in the human body experience forces of various frequencies, for example, breathing, heartbeats, walking, running, jumping, and singing, typically ranging from 0.2 hertz to hundreds of hertz, the researchers wrote. At the highest frequencies, cells become stiffer, and the enzymes that guide gene transcription could not bind to the DNA the team found. Cells' immediate responsiveness to force makes sense from an evolutionary perspective, Wang said. Cells must be able to respond quickly to things in their environment so they can survive, he said. Wow. Just think about that, so they could survive. There's always the who's zooming who. It's like our body itself has elements that compete for resources. Our body is literally like in competition with itself. Our very cells have a degree of collective push to live that may actually be independent of our own wishes. So the body is sending us these motivations towards action or away from action. And we don't really know why it is. For instance, we just want to do some things that we want to do, and psychologists have attempted to try to map it out within the assumption that it is the human circumstance, the humans, whatever they felt like was the core for humans, the id, the ego, the superego, whatever structures they had. That was the way to understand fundamentally why humans have these things that compel them to do this or that. And that's not really the whole story. There's just so much more there, and it's maybe less to do with our own sense of self than with competing agents within our own body, so to speak. So stuff like this just makes me think all the more that some of these crazy thoughts I have, maybe there's more scientific credibility to some of them, or maybe not. Methinks we've only begun to scratch the surface of how our environment, our emotions, and even the physicality of our circumstance can much more significantly affect the development of diseases, the lower or greater resistance to bacteria, viruses, and even the development of cancers. As we learn more about the ways our worlds, our circumstances, our particular occupations could, in some instances, be grinding us down to premature dust, our tolerance, our acceptance for certain ways of living might be more and more challenging to sustain. Take the case of football. As we have learned more about the long-term consequences of the repetitive physical impacts of that sport, it is producing radical changes aimed to protect the players from risks that we all viewed as perfectly acceptable. The same, I suspect, will follow across multiple industries and convict multiple societies, cultures, and that might be producing little opportunity for the vast majority of people to avoid these types of premature grinding to dust occupations that we can, at present, ill afford to lose. And the lights are shining, and I'm not sure we're going to like everything we're about to see. Now that was an ending, folks. That was beautiful. I nailed that. Now we're going to get to the last segment of the first half of the show. And that is the focus. So let's get to the focus here. And this is today's Talk Focus. Our first story for Talk Focus is magnetic bugs will bash the body's bug bullies. That was a fun headline to write. If you can imagine microbes that have been magnetized in ways that combine them with other microbes, making them the raw resources to build biomaterials that could strategically defend the body from outside invaders, then you can imagine this next story. This is from SciTech Daily. Microbiologists use bacteria to produce multifunctional magnetic nanoparticles. And here's an excerpt. Magnetic bacteria might soon be used for the production of novel biomaterials. A team of microbiologists at the University of Bayreuth, led by Professor Dr. Dirk Schuller, developed a modular system for the genetic reprogramming of bacteria, thereby turning the organism into cell factories for multifunctional magnetic nanoparticles that combine various useful functions and properties. Well, could you get into a little bit more specifics on that various and useful property? Nothing to see here. There's nothing. I know nothing. It's all good. It's human good healing and health and love. I would really love to know that would seem a key part to know the various functions. And oh my gosh, though, I mean, on the good side, all kinds of opportunities there. Imagine, if you had this now, for a Coronaville, you get the whatever, you got the DNA, the 3D look of what this Coronaville thing is like. Yeah, nanobots. Okay, you're gonna build this little thing that's specifically designed to find the Coronavilles and punch them in the face, just by clashing with them physically, locking them up or whatever viruses do to tick each other off, whatever. And I guess even these little you use microbugs to attach microbes with custom. Oh man, totally tack bugs, tactibugs. Tactibugs, little micro tactibugs going in for the kill, dude. That could be a comic book right there in and of itself. Seriously, tactibugs versus Coronaville. Oh man, I would buy those comic books. So totally, even if you made them all women, all strong women, go ahead, do that. You can make them all lesbians too. Make them all lesbian, strong lesbian women. Tack to bugs. You could say like lesbianism is great every 5 seconds. I would totally watch it. Okay, see, that would be quality content, and you get your message out. Great. I don't care about your message one way or another. I'm not, I don't really care. I'm just saying, just give me that content, and you can preach to me if you give me some good sweet contents, and that would be great. Who doesn't want to see that comic book? That comic? Come on, man, come on. There you go, DC Marvel. I'm throwing you a bone. Come on, you get what you want, we get what we want. It's a win-win. Come on, everybody's happy, dude. Call me, hook me, call me. I could get some consulting money in this. Totally not delusional. Zoomers bring boomers online love. And this story fills me with joy for a number of reasons that are probably obvious to most of you reading or listening along if you watch the show. That's this show right here, Freeqo Talks News. And if you're watching the show, then you're watching. Whatever, shut up. Some teens in California created a way for their isolated... Ooh, did I write this? Oh, man. I did. Man, that should be THEIR. For their isolated grandparents to stay connected and supplied. They've created an online shopping delivery portal that gets seniors the stuff they need. I can relate to this story, having my own grandkind that just got phone calls from us saying, check your front door for a package. Literally just did that last night. The youth and the old in synchronicity. If we make it out alive, and most of us will, this could be maybe possibly a start to bridge those mostly artificial divides. But then again, there's probably a meteor just waiting for October to roll around. So hey, live like you're dying. Optimism. From Truth Theory. Oh, by the way, I love Truth Theory. I take in hundreds of, probably maybe around 1,000 to 1,500 news articles that I go through. I don't read them. I'm looking at the headlines and zero them down. But Truth Theory is just one of the places that I regularly use or regularly look at, and they're in amongst all this stuff. I don't see like the sources of things the way that I collect my data. I don't see the sources of things. I just see the titles for the most part, and then I get a lot of stuff shows up in the sites that all end up being what Freeqo is fed by. Truth Theories, I'm just saying, I highly recommend this site. Truth Theory, great, fun, awesome site. Teenagers create online shopping service for isolating seniors. Excerpt. A group of California teenagers have created an online shopping delivery... Oh, okay, right. Oh, no, right. I didn't read this already. A group of California teenagers have created an online shopping delivery portal to assist senior citizens who are isolating themselves from the coronavirus. Gen Z stepping up to help boomers in Santa Barbara, delivering groceries and prescriptions to their homes. Zoomers to boomers. And that's a Twitter thing from Elise Martinez. After his school closed, Daniel Goldberg found himself sitting around at home, frustrated that there was little to keep him constructively busy. And then it tells you what he did, and you should go to Truth Theory and find out. It's wonderful, and I love the picture. I picked this as a free to use whatever picture. So this is just a URL, and that is, look at that. That's just beautiful. This is a beautiful human being right here. And yes, we're all human. Every single one of us. Animals, plants, minerals, we're all human. Every single one of us. This is a human. I love you, human. My zoomer. My moomer. That might be a zoomer oh, never mind. Don't say that. Never. All right. I tell you what. I'm going to give you a little bit teaser here before we get going here. But I'm going to stop this recording. So if you're watching this on YouTube, You got to go to, I go to DLive, dlive.com/Freeqo and get the live show every 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday through Friday. All right. So I'll tease you guys, though, that are watching the DLive show. And here's the news poem that we're going to be looking at. I'm just going to keep that picture there. And then I'm going to switch on over to here because we're going to get ready. So we're going to switch gears here. I'm ready to do that. And what we're going to end up doing is, we're going to end up going on break here. So I'm going to go and situate myself and do a little bit of a liquidation refreshment. Wow, liquidation refreshment. That is nice. And I'm going to own that now. That should be a t-shirt. Liquidation refreshment. Just say it's that. White. Just white letters, black shirt. All right, with that note, I'll see you guys on the other side where we will begin the show with the news poem, and we will end the show with what will be our last story, which is our dialectical, and that is moving towards crime prevention singularity. So those are things to look forward to on the other side of the show. We'll see you.
Love overwhelmed me.
Alrighty. Yes, it does. But now you're done. Well, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back as we get set to return to the show. Brace yourselves, because we're going to make sure that everybody gets the proper warnings and notifications and all that stuff. So that all the human beings out there who listen to the opinions of others and find reason to decide that these others are subhuman, beyond contempt, worth seeing a nuclear missile fly through the entirety of their body cavity and then come back and then explode in the center of them. Like, this is a warning for all those folks out there. Well, not really a warning. It's a plea for common decency and hope and humanity in the face of, in current year. I think current year has a profoundly new meaning right now, doesn't it?
Warning, the material about to be listed was formed by minds of individuals with limited capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive on here. What you're about to hear opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific news, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone on FM. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freeqo attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
Well, that's the game plan. And I've done pretty well today. I think I got a little bit heated for a little bit period of time, but on the main, I got to say, I think I've held out like a trooper. I think everybody could say that. I held out like a trooper. I think that's the general consensus that I'm getting from the chat that doesn't exist. Yep. There's a lot of people in there. Every once in a while, someone, that's not there chimes in with, okay, boomer. I don't know why you're still doing that. Just stop that. Really. Anyway, bring it back to the show. The show is the thing, kids. Okay? The show is the thing. The show is where it's at. And that means that we are going to get to, well, what I promised that we get to. We're going to get to our news poem. And I just have to get it lined up here because I had it lined up and then it did something. And here we go. Now we're ready. We're ready. And now, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to our news poem. Well, this is the news poem. You can see who that is. That's Fredo. Is Lafredo, 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 Lafredo. Every once in a while I like to do what I call, I'm going to call it thumbnail theater. A thumbnail theater. Hey. Okay. Hey, Fredo. Hey, call me Fredo again. Call me Fredo again. I'll get up in your face. Call me. Oh, crap. He's getting up in my face now. Oh, listen. I'm a good guy. Call me Fredo. It's not right, man. You know what we do every day for you? Every day for you. We get up. We go in front of the camera. And we say things that make us feel like we are mighty, mighty men. And ladies and I don't know, all the others, everyone else. Oh, gosh, I don't even know what to say. What do I say? These. Oh, gosh, please. Oh, please. Oh, please let this be an inner monologue and not an outer. Oh, crap, it's an outer monologue. Don't call me Fredo! Yeah, it'll be like that. There he goes. That's Fredo. I love this man. Talk about, oh, gosh. You know what I really can't stand about Fredo? Fredo is all about that, that appeal to morality, in which he shames like more than half the country that has like a gazillion tiny, a reverse gazillionth of a percent of the quote unquote privilege this man has had in so many ways. And this is the guy that I chose to write my poem about today. So this is going to be fun. So there's no bias. No bias in the tale. Mario speaks to his dying son in the febrile land of Coronaville. News poem. News first, Poem follows from Celebrity Insider. Chris Cuomo spoke to his deceased father Mario as his fever continued during coronavirus battle. Excerpt. Speaking on his show, Cuomo Prime Time, Chris discussed shivering from a fever and developing rigors so bad that he chipped a tooth. Now that is nasty. By the way, I'm not wishing any ill harm on the guy. I think he's pretty much recovering now, so I can kind of bust on him. But I don't want Coronaville to do any lasting harm to this human being. I'm not looking for physical harm to befall this man in any way, shape, or form. So, man, chipping teeth from the chattering is not a good day. Not a good day. He said that he felt like someone was beating him like a piñata. He then said he began hallucinating and his father was talking to him. Chris Cuomo stated the following on the show. It's a weird way to put that excerpt in there. He could have said, Chris explained on the show, but it's like, Chris Cuomo stated the following on the... It's very... He went totally... Could they not get I guess they couldn't get a natural sentence there. That's weird. That's just uncomfortable. I would have edited that if it was my writing. But I'm decent. I've never seen anything like it. I've had a fever. You've had a fever, but 102, 103, 103 plus, I wouldn't quit. Wow, I've had 103 fevers, like, recently. And it was like somebody was beating me like a piñata. I shivered so much that I chipped my tooth. And that is nasty. I can't even... I relate to him on that. Like, I can't... He's such a human being for me now because of that. But I still push on. But still, that's nasty. Man, you know, I tip my fedora to you, brother. Tip my fedora. Yeah. All right. My dad was telling me I was seeing people from college, people I hadn't seen in forever. It was freaky what I went through last night, and maybe happen again tonight. Oh wait, he's not fully recovered. Oh wow. Well, we'll see. Well, I guess he's still dealing with it, man. He's still dealing with it. Wow. All right, here's a news poem. Mario speaks to his dying son in the febrile land of Coronaville. Let me speak, Fredo, of the times the boat was heavy and we were just rowing, moving into the mouth of the Corona, stepping into the oxygen-thin sea, weary of the mortal load that once crowned my glory on national television. I sip tea like a lady, you know. I think he said that to me just before he slipped back into my head. Once again, a detached father ghost, subtly driving my contempt for being Fredo to his grand presence. Mario made me a boy. His name made me the man I am today. Into the mouth of the Corona I slide with my visions of heroic recovery, shared in the drama of a megaphone my father made me out of the letters in his own name. Cuomo, 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 and Fredo took a fall. Viva Fredo, Fredo of the Journo priests, rising out of the mucus and ash, head still filled with Mario's lament that his Fredo could never be the man his father was. And Fredo knew. And Fredo knew. But you're a veteran now, brother. A veteran in the Coronaville War. And that's sure to remind others how brave your father truly was. Fredo. Ooh. I'm gonna take a sipper. This is just water, folks. I am bound by water alone now. We are out of everything but water. But I think we'll survive. Water has numbers of calories in it if you drink enough. We drink a lot of water. We have plenty of water. Everything fine. Don't send help. We're fine. We're fine. All right. Whew. Well, we're going to get to our talk briefs. And I'm going to wager that we're going to do How many of these are we going to do? Let's see. You know what? We're going to do the first one and the last one. That's what we're going to do. No. I think we're just going to do... Let me think. All right. We're going to do the last three. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do the last three of the briefs. And if you want to see briefs daily, go to freeqo.com/daily, and then you can get the show notes and links and all the stuff and everything sent to your email once a day at the end of the day. If you so please, you could do that. Otherwise, leave me alone, man. Leave me alone. All right, let's get to the next segment here. All right, let's get to our talk briefs for today, and we're going to do things a little bit in a weird order kind of thing. We're not going to do the first three stories because of time constraints. I've just coincidentally chosen to go with these three stories. There we go. These are the three stories that I chose to focus on. The stories that I choose, by the way, I do want to stress, are not necessarily like the biggest stories. I have a variety of reasons for choosing the stories that I choose. I'm singing songs to the stories that I select. I am singing songs. I mean, are all in my head, but they're songs nonetheless. You can't say can't tell me they're not a song if they're a song to me. It took a coronavirus outbreak for self-driving cars to become more appealing from Mashable. Here's the excerpt. Suddenly, a future full of self-driving cars isn't just a sci-fi pipe dream. What used to be considered a scary, uncertain technology for many Americans looks more like an effective tool to protect ourselves from a fast-spreading infectious disease with Coronaville, the name for the disease caused by the new coronavirus. It's Coronaville. It's not what you said. You're wrong. Keeping most of us housebound. It's harder to get around or bring in supplies safely. Forget about socializing. Just stocking up on groceries, toiletries, and basic medicines and products is a risky challenge. Suddenly having robots and computers help us out doesn't seem so far-fetched. All that money that's been funneled into testing self-driving cars, $27.5 billion in 2018, according to data company Statistica, is starting to look more and more worthwhile. That is so true. And this is, I've spoken in other episodes already about, this is the wonderful thing about Coronaville is that it's hastening the experimentation of stuff that a lot of people are afraid of. I'm gonna be dealing with this actually when I get to the dialectical on the other side of this, where it really is. It's this irrational fear of technology, and it's always, well, I'll get to it, but yeah, it's never. Well, I won't say never. I don't generally like the word never, but it's 99+% of the time whenever they say you should fear the technology, you have no reason to fear the technology. Very, very few technologies do you have to fear in and of themselves. It's always the users. It's always the users. So by the users I mean the designers, the implementers, all of it, the users. So I'm welcoming this. I'm loving this part of it, and I can't even, if this thing starts to prolong, trust me, hope finds a way, life finds a way, markets find a way, need finds a way, necessity and believe me, want and necessity are too closely intermingled. Once need is done, want becomes need. So want will come back. That means luxury production, luxury payment for production, all that stuff. That's going to continue. You'll see. You will see. Truck stuffed with toilet paper catches fire on Texas interstate, from HuffPost. Excerpt. A tractor trailer hauling toilet paper crashed in... Effing chat for the toilet paper. Come on, y'all know y'all want to do it. Y'all know you want to do it. That's a lot of butts. That's a lot of butts that are going to literally be hanging. Literally be hanging. Oh, hold on. I'm takes me a moment. Sometimes it gets a little bit too much. You think about toilet paper laws like this. This is needless. This is senseless. The fire shut down westbound lanes of Interstate 20 near Interstate 45 in Hutchins, The Texas Department of Transportation said the driver of the truck is okay, officials said. The toilet paper appeared to be large rolls typically used in stores, restaurants, and other businesses. Texas Department of Transportation officials said the load of toilet paper... Oh, they had to add this. Why do you have to add this? What they say here, I don't even know if I should read this out loud. It's so offensive. It's literally like watching a gentleman, especially too if you are a gentleman watching, a gentleman get kicked in the proverbials. You know it. You know the pain. And this is what this is. Then they add this in. They didn't need to do this. I don't need to read this. I certainly don't need to read this out loud, but I'm going to. I'm going to. Sorry, I have to. Texas Department of Transportation's official said the load of toilet paper burned extensively. Whoa! Oh, right. Why'd you kick me in the... It's like that, right? According to Dallas TV station WFAA. That story kind of speaks for itself, although I added a little bit of melodramatic unnecessaries, because that is part of the show, by the way. The show is designed for the melodramatic and unnecessaries. It's all part of the song. It's a song. It's all one big song. WHO says 95% of people who died in Europe aged over 60. That's the Wuhan Health Organization. I think that's what it is. This is from Time magazine. Excerpt. The head of the World Health Organization's the Wuhan Health Organization's office in Europe. What are they doing in Europe? Says figures show more than 95% of people who have died of coronavirus on the continent have been aged over 60. But Dr. Hans Kluge said age is not the only risk factor for you're going to have to go and go to that Time thing and read it. Figure it out for yourself, because I decided it wasn't worth my time. So anyway, if you're over the age of 60, that's really bad. I'm 51, so this makes me feel a little better about my life than I did before I read this. But then it is from the Wuhan Health Organization, and I don't really believe anything they say anymore. I mean, and I'm sorry, folks, when you are going to sit there and stand up there and just deny Taiwan, just deny it. Like, just do all that? No. That's not the World Health Organization. That's the Wuhan Health Organization. You shut it down. You shut it down. It has no credibility. But, I don't know. I'm under the age of 60, so I'm like, I shared it. Now, if you're over the age of 60, I apologize. I did the reverse. I didn't want to do it. I thought this was good news for most people, but not for you, so I apologize. So, it's kind of one thing I like about Coronaville. And I don't like Coronaville, don't get me wrong. It's horrible. But one thing I like about Coronaville is this is this filtering that's going on, laying bare. Like, people are starting to understand a lot more how a life that does well here could mean a life that is facing real existential threat over here. Like the circumstance from which human beings have the measure of well-paying jobs for non-physical labor, how much more opportunities folks like I've been one of those folks. I'm not necessarily right now, but I have been. The existential advantages that you have over others, like, it becomes all the more. But it's true everywhere, even amongst your neighbors in your same group. For other reasons, you have an advantage that now puts them more at it's basically laying bare the blood and bone cost of basically living and prospering. Where one prospers, it doesn't necessarily have to be where one prospers. 3 people suffer. But I mean, I think in large part the way our whole world system is structured, if you look at it as an overall world system, it may be where one prospers, 1,000 people suffer. Who knows? I don't know what the ratio is, but those things are just becoming all the more visible, and it makes you, I guess, maybe to some degree, more appreciate the advantage that you have, and on the other, maybe like why you might want to thinking about raising or somehow lowering the cost of your existence, so to speak. How that might be achieved. All right, I'm going to end this segment there and get us ready for the next segment here. I'm going to take a little bit of another water break here because this is the last segment. This is the drive home, everybody. All y'all that's been sticking with me and watching this whole show. I salute you. You have my heart. You know, I love you and all that crap. That's what you say. And it's what you mean for you, the people. You, the people. Yeah, so we're going to do our last story here. And now we are at the Freeqo Talks the News Dialectical for today, but we're on the wrong window. There we go. There's the right window. You're not going to fool me. No. This is the right music for the Dialectical. It's what I want for the Dialectical. I don't want any of that briefs music. I want dialectical music. That's what we're talking about here. Talking about our Dialectical here. Moving towards crime prevention singularity. Police officers around the world are always looking for the technological edge in their fight against crime as defined by the laws of their land. American cops are also looking to get in on the cop tech trend, trying to figure out how to balance the tech power with the restrictions on policing that it's supposed to occur thanks to the Bill of Rights. The latest, greatest tech to come along in the fight against the government-defined crime is machine learning. This is the technique, in really, really simple terms, of setting up basic learning parameters for machines, software, AI, robots, etc., that then take those parameters and utilize them to learn themselves how to do the task at hand. The basic idea is that it takes less time and cost, much less, to have machines develop the full particulars of how to get the assigned job done than it does to try to meticulously program them to do everything that would need to be done to complete the programmed task. In addition to that, they can actually figure it out in their way and produce much better results than the meticulously programmed version can. The emergent method, that's interesting. Very interesting. Yeah, which is largely what machine learning is kind of, it kind of follows that type of learning methodology. Kind of like unschooling is also kind of in that kind of thinking, in a way. From Police One, what is machine learning and how does it benefit police? Excerpt. Sometimes technology can get in the way of being effective and efficient in doing our job, says Police Chief, I won't say the name. Machine learning is an emerging technology that shows promise. I forgot that was in there. I tell you the truth, I forgot that. It's just coincidence. In one sense, machine learning can offer an extra pair of hands to do a repetitive task. In another sense, it can provide an extra pair of eyes and ears, ones that don't tire from long overtime hours or get bored by monotonous tasks. And then another police chief from another department reminds us to recognize that no type or amount of technology can replace human interaction, intuition, training, and experience. In other words, I don't want to lose our jobs. No, we still need the incredible intuitive power of human beings that have guns in their holsters and have an average IQ less than 120. This is what we're talking about. Not that there aren't police that have high IQs. There definitely are. Tons of them. But I mean, that's kind of the average. Like, these are not, and I'm not saying people that have an IQ under 120. I mean, the average IQ is 110. So if you're under 120, you can still be gifted or, reasonably smart. But it's a very, in terms of understanding the philosophical whatever constructs, the true understand the meaning of the Bill of Rights, for instance, and how it applies to your job and how it limits you. These folks, they don't operate in that world. They just don't. And these are the folks that we're sending out to do this human interacting. I mean, I know I have a friend of mine, I love you, you know you are, who's actually like made the case that it would be better to have AI cops than than human cops, and he actually might be right. I mean, if you could guarantee that the AI cops were really fundamentally understood the Bill of Rights and operated totally within the Bill of Rights whenever they dealt with human beings, like, they probably would be better than the cops. So there you go. So the cops may have something to worry about. And then I'm not busting on cops. I have friends that are cops, and I got no hatred of cops, but I want to put that in that perspective. I just want to keep it in that perspective. That's what we're talking about, and that's why maybe this guy is like instinctively, it's like this police chief, Mike. I'll just say Aaron, police chief Aaron. Yeah. And then he further says he encourages exploring and judiciously utilizing tools. Now, when you're up at their levels, these guys are, I don't know. I think to some degree, these guys are a little bit smarter than your average bear. So I got a little bit more, I won't say respect, because I don't respect authority in general. I don't offer respect to human beings based on authority, but I have respect in terms of the power and I kind of have a belief that on the main, police chiefs are not inclined to believe that they have tremendous amounts of power to violate Bill of Rights standards, and they probably understand that probably on the main more than the police on the street do. But they're not the ones that are going to be out greeting you. It's going to be a lot of times these young kids. They're just young kids, some of them, that have been serving over in the military, and I mean all the police departments want them, because it's hard to find people that want to be cops these days. It's really difficult. It's not like they have a huge thing to, a huge pool of people that want to go and be cops these days. And so a lot of times what you get are people that have been involved in security, or way more often than I don't know if ever, or I don't know the degree to which military have become cops in the past, but my suspicion at least is it may be at a much higher volume than it had been in the past. And so you got a lot of military-minded folks that are used to dealing with kind of an occupation-type mentality in an environment in which we're asking cops to do more and more stuff, putting them in more harm's way themselves, making them more of an agitation to the community, making more incidents happening, making everyone fear everyone more. I mean, this is the context for everything that we're talking about here. So, like, even the cops, like, I'm sure probably more than 60% of the cops probably would like the things overall that I have to say, and overall would probably like to live in a world in which they would only have to do the type of policing that I think police should be limited to. I think they'd love that job. They would much rather show up to the job that I hope I'm going to end up describing than the one they're doing now. Because the one they're doing now, I'll get to it. I'm getting ahead of myself right now. So the article I excerpted from here, which is linked below in this post, that is making a case for a circumspect approach to applying machine learning techniques to policing tools. But machine learning and all these force multipliers, which are really, in this instance, brain force multipliers, equipping police with the metaphorical minds of thousands of humans in the form of software, quickly learning the parameters of a scenario and feeding the police information in a few short minutes or hours that would otherwise have required armies of dedicated investigators poring over reams and reams of data. It is just a tool. In and of itself, it is just a tool. It has no personality, no value assumptions. It does what it is programmed to want to do. If it was programmed from the start, effectively, as in produces the desired result of the programmer. Machine learning can be used to help police solve decades-old murders, or it could be used to track the potential risks to society, offering pre-crime mitigation to help prevent crimes before they even happen. Like guns, machine learning can be used to stop the bad guy, or it can be used to empower the bad guy. It depends on the users for the most part. Machine learning can be used to track potential political dissenters and arrest them before they ever even go public. Machine learning can be used to track potential political dissenters and arrest them before they even go public with their dissents, or it can be used to track the scamming patterns of online phishing to help create better security provisions that lessen the chance the scammers will succeed in the first place. This article isn't so much about the police incorporating machine learning into their policing as it is an opportunity to illustrate an underlying principle that will protect you and yours from the curse of the Luddites, people who hate new technology in general. As the police incorporate these new technologies, like machine learning, like AI, drones, etc., the talk almost always centers around the dangers of the technologies themselves, and often from the same people that support gun ownership. And this is relevant because of one of the classic counter-arguments to the all guns are bad argument is guns don't kill people, people kill people. The idea is that police using a technology, or the idea is that police using a technology in and of itself is dangerous. When, unless you believe tools have innate self-will, it is just as ridiculous as people believing that the mere presence of a gun could potentially put their lives at risk. This focus on anti-tech also prevents us, and this is my real rub, this is the real rub of why I hate this so much. This focus on anti-tech, and I don't hate the people that are anti-tech, by the way. I hate the sentiment. This focus on anti-tech also prevents us from fundamentally looking at the real problems we have with policing in America, which has everything to do with human-directed policies and actions and nothing to do with technology. Technology comes upon you as you are, and if you murder people, technology might help you to do that better. That same technology might also help people kill you better, people who only kill people who are trying to kill others. Like in the act, not we think they're going to. And so technology comes upon police departments as they are, and from a non-police perspective, that's not a great thing given the very nature of American policing today. Now, this is going to be hard for some of my policing friends to hear, and I bet you some of you already know this. And some of you, even if you don't know this, a part of you deep down knows this. And this is not, at least some of you, and I believe many of you signed up to actually serve the community, like you really wanted to, the cliched protect and serve, which is Supreme Court made very clear that the police don't even constitutionally, they are not obligated to protect you. That's a constitutional, like the Supreme Court said, nope. Police don't have to protect you. So that's kind of like they have to voluntarily want to protect you. But some people signed up. Many of you, right? Maybe most of you, I don't know. And then as you learned, as you got on the job, you start to figure it out. Your ability to protect and serve is significantly limited. Even the very other acts that you're compelled to take prevent you in large ways from even when the need arises from being able to actually serve and protect the community, because so many of the things that they're asking you to do now they cause me not to trust you. They cause my neighbors not to trust you, not because we hate you. You're just human beings like us. Because we fear what you might be able to do to us in the name of allegedly enforcing the law, even if you're in error. Police have become largely sources of revenue for town managers, mayors, and councils, while for others, police have become the hall monitor who's upped the game by being given the permission to kill you should you decide to walk away from them before they're done talking to you about a potential infraction that has little or anything to do with threats to anyone else's well-being other than perhaps your own. And therein lies the rub. Police encounters are all violent, even if the exchange itself is peaceful, because the implication between a cop and yourself is this. If he doesn't know the law or the Bill of Rights, he won't be held accountable if he hurts you in detaining you illegally. Whereas even if you know the law and the Bill of Rights, and you know this cop clearly does not, if you seek to protect yourself from his now assault, and that's legal assault, mind you, because reasons, you're the ones who could be killed. And the murderer will almost always get off without so much as a warning. That cop will be on the streets within a month at the latest, and the cop's absence will be a paid vacation, not a punishment. And that's the reality of power. Whatever you think your job is, fellow officers out there, well, I'm not an officer, but whatever you think your job is out there, officers, I can assure you that is the reality of power. Whenever you are talking to anyone in which you're talking to them for reasons that suggest that they may have the authority to detain you, that exchange is an unhealthy imbalance of power, because not many of us believe you folks even understand the Bill of Rights at this point, let alone respect them, because you're willing to go out and execute red flag laws. You do that. I mean, not all of you do it, but many of you do. And where's the chastising? Where's Police One? What have you said about cops that go out and do something as hideous as red flag laws? You know how they enforce red flag laws? First off, you don't know that this has happened. You have no idea that anybody has accused you of anything, said anything about you. They get an anonymous tip. I don't even know. Maybe it's not anonymous. They get a tip. Now, they get a warrant. They get a no-knock warrant. And you know when they enforce no-knock warrants? Like 3 or 4 in the morning. No-knock warrants are they're not knocking on the door. They're coming in, guns blazing. And there have been numerous incidents of citizens that have been killed by cops because of this position that the cops willingly put themselves in. The cops are the guilty ones. They're the ones that chose to respect the law instead of the Constitution. And whatever you think about the Constitution, I don't really care. But I do believe in the practical value of the Bill of Rights for we the poors, we that do not command such powers as influencing the police to act on the letters that we put on pages. If we lack that power, we most assuredly should be in favor of assuring that those that have the power of the gun over us fundamentally understand the Bill of Rights and are held violently, when needed, accountable for violating the Bill of Rights of others, especially when life is taken. And those cops should be treated as just murderers. They should be arrested, they should be tried, and found guilty, because that's a murder that they committed. They fundamentally, now legally, they really legally, I'm talking about ideationally, if we were really living a Bill of Rights lifestyle, if we Americans really understood the Bill of Rights ourselves and we lived it out amongst ourselves, the principles that you can find in the Bill of Rights, and it became this just powerful societal expectation, that alone, I mean, even the cops themselves that we would then get would come from that culture. They themselves would have a profound understanding. But we lack that. But it doesn't matter if we lack that. When you have a gun and you're roaming the land, and the ultimate legitimacy of the land really is the Bill of Rights. That's the ultimate legitimacy of the land. And that's the legitimacy of your authority. And if you're not willing to submit to that authority, then you lose your legitimacy. That's the bottom line. That's where we're at. And that's what you have to wake up, and you come to finally understand. We're your neighbors, we're your friends, we're your relatives. We're not the other. We're not an occupied force. You got to stop thinking of us in that way. And you got to start taking responsibility for your own actions. And if you have an order that asks you to violate a Bill of Rights standard, you don't do it. Just don't. Just walk away. Don't do it. And if enough of you do it, believe you, policing will change. It'll have to change. And then you can come back and you can actually do the jobs that we really need you to do. And then you'll be heroes instead of home monitors. Whether we articulate or not, we'll understand the gross imbalance of power between American cops and the people they mostly hit up for revenues for mayors and town councils. Every encounter is a potential life-threatening threat, because one party has a gun and a license to pretty broadly use it to end your life, even if they are pulling you over for speeding and you decide to leave. They will kill you for leaving the scene over speeding. They will kill you for speeding if you don't comply. This is my fundamental problem with policing. Patrols meant to find and stop ongoing crime is one thing, and crime that actually involves people hurting one another, not, quote, crime as broadly defined by individuals who will willingly allow for the potential of you being killed by doing something that might possibly, maybe lead possibly in some direction or even very remotely direct way to harming someone else. Pre-crime. This is the real problem in America. Pre-crime enforcement. This is where you should fear the humans who are now being handed tools like machine learning in an effort to better police the land. America style, which is filled with pre-crime offenses, like speeding. Speeding is pre-crime. It is ostensibly intended to protect people from committing a crime of hurting others in a crash through negligence to be an actual crime, not a pre-crime. Now, I do want to add one tiny little caveat. If you're in a neighborhood and you're flying at 80 miles an hour, that is most assuredly, that would not be pre-crime. That would be like you're fundamentally putting people at risk. I'm talking about when you're in open areas where there aren't a lot of human beings walking across, talking about in broad spaces and whatnots. So speeding is, and I'm talking about when you're, in that situation, you're putting lots of people at risk for your decision. That's a lot different as you measure that equation. So speeding is pre-crime. It is ostensibly intended to protect people from committing a crime of hurting others in a crash through negligence. It is not, or should not be, a crime to be negligent in and of itself, unless, again, the immediate risk is to significantly more people. It would be the general gauge. Although that's complicated in and of itself. It is not, nor should it be, a crime to be negligent in and of itself. You have to actually hurt someone in that negligence to be an actual crime, not a pre-crime. The whole underlying assumption of pre-crime policing hasn't even been given serious debate in America. Certainly not in my lifetime have I heard it seriously debated. To the degree that it has been in movies like Majority Report, what is presented are the extreme examples of pre-crime, like arresting someone that a psychic woman in a bath was going to murder someone else in the next hour. The movie in and of itself and the conversations around the movie almost seem to create a new definition of pre-crime without explicitly doing it. Pre-crime is to most of these examples of arresting people you suspect might soon crime. I don't know what, I'm missing a few words there. But pre-crime is much broader than that, and I would argue almost all of American laws and regulations are built on the assumption of pre-crime. We in America call it crime prevention, even though crime prevention should really only be considered to be non-penal actions intended to mitigate risk to the victim, not so much to prevent the potential future criminal from acting. In America, crime prevention is often equated with pre-crime arrests of individuals for performing behaviors, actions, and now, thanks to the hate speech and hate crime movements, even your beliefs alone they think might move you to do crimes. I mean, literally, you'll see examples where some folks in this movement literally believe that if you say, if you mention anything, Constitution, Bill of Rights, patriotism, I'm not really big on the patriotism thing, but these things are enough to put you in a category of being a white supremacist. That's for some people think, and if you're in that category, then you're most assuredly, just by your very existence, you're committing a hate crime. I mean, that's where these things go, and for some people, where it has gone. And when they've had little micro opportunities to control the lives of others, they've actually done crazy things, like actually try to do things like that. Maybe not that exactly, but things along that line. The integration of machine learning into American policing is a non-issue to me. The real issue is what lies underneath the issue of pre-crime laws and police enforcement in America today. Another round of debates about scary tech in the hands of cops is another round of distraction from the underlying flaws of American policing, which, to be fair, is still way less dangerous to the general public than policing is in almost any other country. And I do want to make that clear. Like we miss the context. We do not appreciate just how much safer we are with our cops than most countries are with theirs. So, like, you may look at police shootings or things like that. Maybe America has the most, but here's the bottom line. In most countries in the world, this is the reality. If the government wants you disappeared, you disappear. Like, it's not much of an issue for them to disappear you on the main. That in America, I mean, if the government wants to disappear you in America, they can do it too. They just can't do it at nearly as high a number. With such ease of use, would they be able to use that option? In other countries, they don't have nearly the ideational constructs that we do. It's certainly not built into their government systems. Maybe many people have a lot of the ideational constructs we have here that are built around the Bill of Rights, but they're not built fundamentally into any other governments. The United States of America is a very unique place, and people don't understand or appreciate that uniqueness. So the context when I'm talking about American cops, when I compare it to would I want to live in any other country in the world and face any other police departments in the world in the main? No, I'd rather be in America any day, any freaking day. As far as my security is concerned, this is the most secure place in the world. All things being equal. I mean, this is nobody's secure right now, but on the main, it's the most secure place to be in the world. So another round of debates about scary tech in the hands of cops is another round of distraction from the underlying right, which is okay, that's right. I said that. Cops are being asked to do more and more, to intervene more and more in the actions of their neighbors, and at the end of the day, no matter the tech, it's still going to be a human being with a lethal weapon entering into the engagement that all this tech might be ratcheting up for them. As the tech helps them find more pre-criminals to arrest and find, or even jail, or when needed, kill. This is not about hating cops. It's about hating our current policing models altogether, and even the very nature of pre-crime laws that continue to put cops in bad positions where they have to decide whether to kill a person or not, even if the reason they stopped them in the first place was to address an issue in which no one had been directly hurt or even threatened, like, somebody's gone 80 on the highway. Nobody's being fundamentally threatened by them. Like pulling someone over for speeding. I am pro-tech just about all the way one can be. I embrace machine learning, even machine learning used by police departments. I embrace police departments. I embrace police. I do not embrace any policing policy that continues to support pre-crime laws and regulations, and I do not embrace any action by police that impede the Bill of Rights of citizens over pre-crime enforcement. And unfortunately, that's what most of policing is today. So in essence, I embrace a very small part of policing, a small part, the part that's actually peacekeeping, the part that is actually, like, in these times, would it be nice to have, I mean, I don't need it, but some people might need it, but it would be nice, and maybe not necessarily in our area, but in other areas, would it be nice to have police patrolling, not looking to try to catch people, whether they're running out or not. That's insane. It's insane to write laws that you know you can't enforce, and if you did really try to enforce them, you'd have to kill people. You shouldn't write those laws. That's why these quarantine laws are insane. It's insane. Are we going to kill people to prevent killing people? We will probably in the end end up knocking something off that kills far more people than Coronaville will. Like that's where we're at. And I mean, that's why, I'm totally for consensual quarantining and lockdowns and government governments and businesses doing everything they can, and we're providing our social shaming for people that continue to ignore this. And if we have ways to hold people accountable that, okay, you voluntarily went out, that's fine, but now if you get sick, there's consequences. You were negligent, so now there's consequences. But the consequences, I mean, I guess what it comes down to is this, and maybe this is what police will have to someday, and maybe they're starting to understand more and more, that there are lines that human beings are actually willing to die for. It's like why you're seeing a number of these folks that when it comes to red flag law enforcement, why so many human beings are dying, whether it's the cop. It's hardly the cop. It is sometimes, but mostly it's the people that are saying, no, this is not, you crossed the line. And that's where we're at. And that's where many of us have come to realize that there are some things worth dying for. And in Coronaville, for some people, I think the freedom to choose to risk their mortal coil should be existent, and the ability for human beings to shuttle themselves off from the folks that choose to live that. Well, that's what we should be working on. Let's just try to figure out who's willing to do this voluntarily. I am. My wife would be. She actually has to go back to work, ironically. Eventually, she has to go back, not this Monday, but the next Monday. And it's kind of essential what she does. So, I mean, if we could volunteer, if there was a way that my wife didn't have to go to work at all, we would much rather prefer that. So, yeah, that's the problem. And nobody's thinking about it in that way. Governments don't think of it in that way. They're not really looking to think of consensual ways of getting things done. They only see force, violence, threat of murder. The only thing human beings know is threat of murder. And that's literally how the government has responded to us through all this. This is, we will kill you. If you don't comply while we save your lives, we will kill you. I mean, that's, you see, that is, it's like, that's not a call to war. That's a call, that's a declaration of war. They need a call to war for all of us. That's a declaration of war. And I think Donald understands that psyche probably more than most of the other folks there. Not saying I love the Donald, but I think he understands that psyche, although he's not really fully given into it. So if he did, wouldn't have done what he ended up doing. But I think he didn't want to, and he felt like he had to. But it's a lie. It's a lie. There are consensual ways that we can deal with this, and we can. Those that choose, if they have to know, if you choose and you suffer. Now, the people who didn't choose, who have to go out there anyway, those folks deserve extras. They deserve extra protections, extra goodies, extra whatevers. They are our soldiers. I guess you have certain amount of tours, whatever. Maybe some of them you're like, that's it, no taxes for life for some of you, like whatever. But we support the people who are out there serving, from the cashiers to the doctors, and you have scopes of risks and all that to consider and all that. But still, they're all out there in my book. The people that deliver our boxes to us, all of it. And I don't know. Maybe during this time, maybe police. Who knows? Maybe it'll be some miraculous self-awareness that you come to and you realize, I don't have to do this. We don't have to do this. We want to be officers. We want to be peace officers. We don't want to be your bloody enforcers anymore. And that's what they've turned you into, my friends. They've just turned you into bloody enforcers. And yeah, that's not the way it has to be. Well. There you go. So that was the last story, and I thank everyone that stayed with me throughout the whole time. Boy, I picked the music backgrounds for various reasons, but it's what the upbeat music keeps me going up, and then these dialecticals, I want to be more introspective, measured. Especially for the dialecticals, that's where I'm doing like a lot of the more difficult subjects, getting into like I don't want to be. I the aim of this show, as far as I can, is I have harsh things to say to a lot of human beings. Believe me, I say harsh things to myself every day. I don't beat myself up. I don't do that. But yeah, I'm a bit harsh with myself, and I actually, well, anyway. So I got a lot of harsh things to say about a lot of people and a lot of groups. So whether you're conservatives, progressives, whether you're a cop, whether you support Nancy, you think Nancy Pelosi is the ever-loving best. I think Nancy Pelosi is an extremely coercive-minded individual, and she's to blame significantly for a lot of the coercive bloodthirstiness in this land. But if you support Nancy Pelosi, I still welcome you to listen to my show and hope you don't tune out because I can't stand Nancy Pelosi. And I still recognize you're still my neighbor. Maybe you live right next door to me. Maybe you live in Nancy Pelosi's district, kind of San Francisco, wherever that. I don't know how much of San Francisco is her district, if it's all of it or what it is. But I don't. Probably not all of it. That'll be a big district. I mean, numbers wise. So, if you're a cop, I hope you don't, stick with me, friend, because, I put myself in a situation in which I encounter a cop. I'm looking to be as civil with you as you are with me, and I'm looking to be, cooperative, I guess you could say, and I don't want anyone's lives to be at risk. So, and I hope that everyone takes that approach, and I hope that you take that approach, and you don't take advantage of the power that I have to give you, because I'd probably rather risk the process and then later on figuring out how to get my due than risk getting shot because I wouldn't do something you told me to do. But you would have to know that it would be that fear of death that would compel me. And, like, do you really want that power over another human being? Especially if most likely the reason that you're asking them to do something is really little to do with them harming anyone else. I mean, ask yourself, do you feel comfortable with that? I wouldn't. I couldn't do your job. I couldn't do that to another human being unless they were doing, they were literally a threat to others. And then that would be different. But other than that, yeah, I don't think I could even do that over, if they stole something of, unless it was something really significant that could fundamentally hurt a person's life. Now, I'm not talking about them not being held accountable for stealing, but if I'm trying to stop them, I may physically try and stop them, but if they get past me, I am not going to shoot them. I'm going to let them go. Even for me, myself, if somebody were to steal something of mine in front of me and I had a gun and maybe they didn't know and I'm waiting for the right time and, they steal my car and say there's nothing valuable really in my car. I got car insurance. So if it gets stolen, I'm going to get it replaced. I ain't worried about it. And they steal it. And I could take, and now they have the car. They pull a gun on me. I got out of the car and they're in the car. Now I have a moment where I can pull out the gun and I can shoot them to stop them from taking my car. I wouldn't do it. I would let them take the car. I would rather not kill a human being for stealing my freaking car. I would only want to pull my gun to protect my life, or if there was something that was really significant in that car that was fundamental to my life. Yes, I would do it then. But all things being equal, the car in and of itself, even if I love the car, by the way, if it has I don't kill people for sentimental value stuff. I'm talking about useful stuff that is value. Like if they had all my money was in that car and I knew I'd be ruined. I'm like, no, I'm shooting you. I'm shooting you for that. But just my car, and I can replace. Even if I can't replace if it's a cool car, I'm not killing anybody for that. You should be the same way. You should treat other people the same way. When you're asked to enforce the law, you should treat people the same way. You shouldn't be people trying to escape you over nonviolent crap. Make it noted. Register who they are. Let everybody know, and it'll work itself out eventually. Eventually, that person will eventually turn themselves in and deal with it. And then if they do something, that's violent, then that's a different thing. If you do anything that's violent, all bets are off. At that point, then you're a risk. Then you escape, shoot that person. Yeah, be a peacekeeper and not a. I probably went on way too long with that one. And I didn't even put that in the segment that I recorded for this, so that won't even be in the dialectical. So that's a little extra dialectical that I didn't plan on giving. All right. So I'm gonna end the show now here, and I want to thank everybody who has joined us and stayed with us for the entire show. This is Freeqo, and you can go to Freeqo.com and I do some updates during the weekend that you'll probably see, but just text updates on the site itself, Freeqo.com. And the show will be back Monday at 12:30 p.m. right here on D Live. I think that's what I'm going to really focus on. I do live stream and other stuff, but you might see me on Facebook. But if you see me on Facebook, get on over to dlive.tv/Freeqo. I hope to make some adjustments in the show, too, by next week, too. Like I'm going to add the D Live thing in here, take away some of this stuff you see here now. And with that, I say I bid you adieu. This is Freeqo from Freeqo.com doing Freeqo Talks the News. I didn't freak out. I don't think I freaked out once, so I did a good job. I did it. I'll see you on Monday.
Use your suppositions and not make yourself human, nor do they permit you to humanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm to anyone who doesn't directly harm or threaten to harm others, no matter how reprehensible we find the news.
We will see you in the next Freeqo Talks, where Freeqo attempts to talk about news without freaking out.
Material presented as usual. Remember, your views, your suppositions do not make you subhuman, nor do they permit you to subhumanize others. No humans were harmed in the making of the show, and we extend no wish of harm to anyone who hasn't directly harmed or threatened to harm others first, no matter how reprehensible we find your views.
We will see you in the next Freeqo Talks, where Freeqo attempts to talk about news without freaking out.
It's not